Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Sunday the 9th of December 2018, which is crazy. Oh my gosh, you guys, Christmas is coming so soon and I have in no way prepared for it. Actually, that's not true. I start Christmas preparations quite early, but I'm the sort of person who usually has Christmas gifts ready like 4 weeks before Christmas, and yes, you can hate me for that. This year that's not happening, but yeah, anyways, this is not supposed to be about Christmas. This is a knitting podcast. I'm so glad that you're joining me today for this episode, which I suspect will be a little bit insane because, let's be honest, you guys, I am super tired and exhausted and overwhelmed by life in general, to be honest. I'm taking it with humor. Nothing terrible has happened or anything like that. Nothing to worry about. Work has just been kicking my butt, and it is continuing to do so until Christmas, right up until Christmas, which is a little bit sad. I was hoping to be able to take some holiday before that, which isn't happening, and I'm just kind of functioning on coffee and too little sleep at the moment. Which is why I am incredibly tired. I look incredibly tired. I thought it was time for a red lip, which is now making me feel self-conscious. But we will push through this and record some kind of podcast. To make matters worse, my lovely fiance has been occupying my craft room and therefore stopping me from recording, and now I feel like it is already getting dark because it is winter. So here's for hoping things go well. There are many things that might not go well today, but we'll just see how it goes. So, knitting. Today I'll talk about very quickly what's been going on in the Ravelry group and giveaways and knit-alongs and such. Finished objects, works in progress, and a ton of stash acquisitions, of which I just realized I am missing a bag because, of course, I rushed setting this up, so I will get that later. But we will start with what's been going on in the group on Ravelry, which is called the Happy Knitting Podcast Group, and I will, as always, link that down below the video. We have two knit-alongs running. First of all, we have the Tea and Ice Cream Sock knit-along, which is ending next week. It will end on December 15th, so get your entries in. If you're not finished, that's fine. Post a photo of your half-finished sock. Anything will count. There's just a chat thread from which I will draw, so participate there if you want, and I will draw prizes pretty soon. I haven't announced the prizes besides the beautiful sock pattern, which I talked about and showed in the past. So that will all be sussed out hopefully next week. Talking about the tea and ice cream socks, you may realize, where did that whip of mine go? Like, where is my finished tea and ice cream sock number 2? You guys, I kind of purposely didn't talk about it because I'm ashamed to say I have no intention of finishing it. Like, second sock syndrome hits me hardest when I'm doing designs because then it turns into work and you really only need one to publish. So the second sock for me is a huge bummer every time I design something. And it's this whole work thing. And the thing is that this is not my work, like this is my free time. And right now I'm refusing to take on any extra stress. So that second tea and ice cream sock of mine, my personal one, is not getting finished anytime soon. And I was so embarrassed about it until this morning I watched Ellie of Skandir, and she has the same issue with her design socks. And that made me personally feel so much better. So I'm just going to go out there and say I didn't finish them. And that's fine because you don't need to finish yours either if you don't want to. For the cowl, you certainly don't. And knitting is supposed to be fun. I still love the pattern. I think it's just now that I've written it up, it just smells of work. And that is just the way it is. So yeah, anyways, prizes will be drawn next week. Get your entries in. The second knit along is the Happy Sweater Along, which I am so excited about. Everyone is just knitting sweaters, garments, cardigans, whatever you want to do, just jump in. I desperately need to go open FO thread. I hope I will remember to do that today. But that is at least running until the end of January, so you have plenty of time to jump in, cast on all the garments, throw away your gift knitting and just be reckless and cast on, and I highly encourage that. So that's what's going on in the group. Details can be found there, of course. And I will move swiftly on to my FOs. And you guys, I have 2 this week. And did I put stuff on sock blockers? No, I didn't. But I finished my stripy socks, which are my socks using mustache yarn. This is mustache yarn. She's a beautiful self-striping yarn dyer. And my camera doesn't focus. There we go. This is in her Kama Sutra colorway, which is a beautiful self-striper in her merino nylon sock base. And you guys, I finished them. So I have 2 perfectly matching socks because this is the way that her yarn comes. I think her name is Stacy. Is it Stacy of Mustache Yarns? I'm pretty sure it is. These are super rainbow bright, which I love. I knit them cuff down, plain vanilla stockinette socks with afterthought heels, which even these match this time. I'm very happy about that. I pulled from the inside of each cake. So these are super bright, cheerful socks, which is exactly what I need right now, especially on such a dark and gloomy and almost stormy day. I knit these on 64 stitches using 2.25 millimeter US size 1 needles. And yes, my brain just completely spaced out there. So these are done. Super excited to have them finished. I love knitting these though. The colors are just amazing. And yeah, very excited about these. My second finished object you can see me wearing, and that is my Emma yoke. You guys, I finally finished it, and I am so excited about that. The Emma sweater or Emma yoke sweater is a pattern by Astrid Tüting of Knit for Passion, who I think is a German designer. It's a beautiful top-down sweater with a colorwork yoke, which you can see here. I'm not sure if I chose the best colors in terms of contrast for it, but I just wanted to play around with the yarn, and I love how this turned out. There we go. This is the yarn that I used. I talked about it a million times. It doesn't have a yarn tag. This is called Black Hill Wool by a Danish company called Garnutsalg. You can find all of this in my project notes on Ravelry. So this is the yarn. It's a beautiful, almost lace white yarn, very light fingering, and it looks really thin before you wash it. And then I have my swatch here because I am so prepared. When you knit it up and you block it, it becomes so beautiful. It gets this halo, and it's perfect. I love it so much. So I was very excited to finish and block this sweater, and besides the fact that it keeps on kind of moving up, and not just in the yoke, but everywhere else. It is just beautiful. This yarn turned out so soft for a rustic woolen yarn, I must say. I just love it. I've been wearing this all the time because I tend to put my finished objects on my desk, which is where I'm sitting right now, when I finish them, so they're there when I start the podcast. But I obviously also work at my desk, so I was cold. The sweater was right there. I put it on and I wore it all week. It is just beautiful. It is a super light sweater because it's such a light yarn. It's a woolen spun yarn, I think, and it's just so beautiful. It's created this halo pretty much immediately after blocking. I'm not sure if you can tell. There's just this tiny bit of fuzz on it, and it just makes it so beautiful. Like, I just put this on again before the podcast, and immediately I went like, oh, that's so nice. I really enjoyed working with this yarn, although I must say it is super sheepy. Like, even after blocking it with my lavender scented Eucalan, it still smells like sheep. So if you're in any way delicate about that, maybe that's not your yarn. But anyways, I finished it. Like I said, apparently because it is so light, everything keeps on moving up, which maybe I need to block it a little bit more aggressively. But I'm super happy with this garment. I knit this on 3mm needles from the top down, like I said, did my own shaping and all that, and I'm very happy about it. I'm not gonna go get up today because you can imagine what it looks like. It hits me on the hip. It's just a very plain gray sweater from here on down. But very happy to have it done. That took me a while to knit because I kept on being distracted by other things. But I'm really happy now that I persevered. And I knit the sleeves on the tiny circular needles, which don't ask me where they have gone now. Oops. That made the sleeves go very, very fast. I even knit some of my sleeves when in like work conferences over the phone. You don't have to type, people are talking. I'm knitting on my sleeve. There we go. So that is done. Very happy about this, and I think I'm going to wear this garment a lot because it's really, really warm actually. I'm starting to overheat right now, but at the same time it's very light, so it doesn't feel like those huge sweaters that are always like you feel like you're wearing armor. Like this is a very light and drapey garment, and you can wear it outside with a couple of layers and it'll be really warm, but you can also wear it inside and not overheat unless you're podcasting and on your second cup of coffee, then you might do that. Also, my voice is going because while Kai has thankfully recuperated from being sick, and I didn't really catch it, I have been fighting off a cold for about 2 weeks now. But since I haven't really gotten sick yet, I'm hoping that I won't really get sick either. Before I get into my whips, I have another FO to show you from Kai, who is very proud and was very, very mad at me last week that I didn't show this to you last week. This is a scarf that he finished for me, which is adorable. Kai, my fiance, he loves to knit like once a year. He will knit you a garter stitch, bulky weight, super chunky weight scarf. Like that is all he does. He loves it. He only touches his knitting every 6 months or so, and when he was sick, he finished it. So this is a self-patterning sort of white and mostly red and gray and white yarn. Don't ask me what it is. I have no idea. We got this in a local yarn store like 2 years ago. It took him over a year to finish it, but now it is done, and he gets so excited when I wear these scarves. It's really adorable. He also knit one in a more like muted gray and brown, and I actually wear that quite a lot, even for work, because I have all these beautiful shawls, but they're not really what you want to wear on an interview. But like a plain, like imagine this in like a gray and white and beige. It's actually really good over a coat, over a blazer. Obviously, I take it off when I reach my destination, but I actually really wear these scarves, so that's really, really nice. So that is Kai's FO, and now we will move on to works in progress. And once again, I'm not going to show you every work in progress because some of them I have not worked on, including the Julenat mittens, the Christmas mittens from Ellie of Skandir, who I'm going to mention a million times this podcast. I haven't touched them. The final clue has come out. I'm 2 clues behind, and I don't know. Not happening right now, so I won't talk about them. I also won't talk about my sock projects because I actually have been working on my grey socks, but not enough to warrant showing them to you. But what have I done? I've been casting on all the new things. So I have been wanting to cast on Ellie of Skandia once again. She came out with 2 new sweater designs, one of which was published in the Bladet Garn magazine, which is a Norwegian knitting magazine. And it's called the Isbre sweater, and it is beautiful. It is this top-down, very oversized colorwork yoke, quite different, I think, from traditional sort of colorwork yokes. And I pre-ordered the magazine, like the digital English version, immediately on Ravelry, and as soon as it dropped, I cast on. And the yarn I chose to use is this yarn. This is a black swatch, which you can't see anything of, but this is once again one of my favorite yarns, Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight. It is just a beautiful woolen yarn. I love it to bits. I've knit 1 sweater and 1 hat with it before, and I love it so much. So I decided to do a swatch with some leftovers. I'm not knitting a black sweater, but I needed to do a swatch. And then I cast on with this cone of Jamieson & Smith. Yes, I bought it in a cone a while back because that is a lot cheaper, and I know I'm going to knit a ton of sweaters out of this yarn, so go big or go home. But I think I have a label here somewhere to show you because the cones don't come with a label. This is the yarn. It is a beautiful woolen yarn that is just perfect for color work. So I'm using the red for the main color, and then I am using some leftover off-white that I used in my 3-year sweater for the contrast. And you guys, I have been addicted to this. Are you ready? It's going to be hard to show. But look you guys. I am so excited about this. This is the Isbre sweater, like I said a million times now. And it is scrunched up on the needles because I keep on dropping stitches, so I finally secured them in this DPN cozy because I need to find my proper stitch holders, which I have no idea where they are. But this is the sweater in question. And where are we on it now? Let's try to make it clearer. So it's a top-down sweater, as you can see, and it has a colorwork yoke that is kind of further down, which I think is really interesting. But that meant it was a million stitches, and this colorwork took me ages. And I have now just separated for the sleeves and have done like two rounds on the body. So from now on, it's going to be super simple knitting. And I kind of want this to be my Christmas sweater because the color is kind of blowing out a little bit. It's a little bit darker. Maybe you can see it like this. It's this beautiful Christmas dark red, and I want to have this done for Christmas, but I'm not sure if I will. I'm not going to stress myself out. But this just didn't this just turn out beautiful? Like, look at this color work. I just think it is such a beautiful pattern and such a beautiful yarn. And it worked really, really well. And what's interesting about this pattern is that while it looks very simple from the front, there's actually a really interesting technique that I first encountered in my 3-year sweater by by Isolde Teague, where you do kind of a way of double knitting. So you don't have to do like catching, like you have really long floats here, obviously. And if you just catch them, what happens a lot is you kind of, they shine through a little bit. Just the way that it works when you stretch out your knitting. So what you do here is you're essentially doing a double knit. So you can see there's a lot of white stitches here, whereas on the front it's just plain red. And it's a really interesting technique. Ellie does a great job of explaining it. It did mean that I thought this was a bit more intense of a knit than your usual color work. It's by no means a hard technique, but it just took me a lot of concentration, also because this is quite a wide chart and it wasn't super intuitive. But the result is just stunning. I just love this so much. I am so excited about this sweater. I had a few issues with the sizing because, as usual, my gauge is way too big. That is a recurring theme. I'm just a very loose. I like to knit very loosely on my sweaters. And because the sweater is already oversized and written with 10 to 20 centimeters or 4 to 8 inches of positive ease, there wasn't that many sizes to go down because I'm not a huge person myself. So I'm not really sure. I think this is going to be quite oversized on me. I would have chosen a size with 10 centimeters positive ease. I think I'm going to get 20 centimeters of positive ease if my gauge swatch doesn't lie, which it doesn't seem to be doing. So it's going to be nice and oversized. Because of that, I did some of the short rows, but not all of them. I did some of the raglan increases, but not all of them, because I think this is going to be a big sweater already. So this is where we are in that. Very, very in love with this. And now it's going to be the perfect potato chip knit. Just go round and round in stockinette, so I can, if I don't finish it by Christmas, it would be a good sweater to work on over Christmas. So that is my Isbre sweater. And next up, the light is really going. My camera, thank goodness, is quite good. So I'm hoping it will deal with it okay. Next up, very, very quickly, because we're running out of time, I have been working a little bit on my Mai sweater. The pattern is Mai by Leni Hoy, who is a Finnish designer. It's a stockinette sweater from the top down, and you have the option of fading it. So I'm not sure if you can tell, but I am still working on my second color, and this is knit on a very loose gauge. Looser than I recommended because, again, my gauge tends to be very loose. But I'm going to wear this a ton. Like, this is going to be the perfect top, and I'm so excited about this. But like I said, I've just done a few more rounds of stockinette. The yarn is by Scuderia Fine Yarns. You can find all the details in my product pages as usual. In their Pinta base, Pinta is a merino, silk, and ramie blend, and it's just beautiful for garments, but you can also use it for socks. Even though there's no nylon in it, I think the ramie and the silk are both really strong fibers, so it's a really cool yarn if you don't. I know some people, they can't use nylon in their socks because they have sensitivities or something, so that might be a good alternative for you. Lastly, yesterday I cast on something new, which I am so excited about, you guys. And did I really need another blanket project? Like, not at all. But everyone has their fancy mini advent calendars. I don't. But everyone who does is inspiring me to knit all the blankets. So I've been working a little bit on my existing blankets, but a new blanket pattern dropped, and oh my gosh, you guys. I'm talking about the Northeasterly blanket by Skaenanigans, which actually was a free pattern for a while. I'm not sure if it still is, but go check it out. Maybe there was a coupon code for a limited amount of time. You could get the pattern for free, so maybe that still works. I'm not sure. It's a sort of the join as you go chevron scrap blanket, and it was just what I wanted. And I bought the pattern. I got the pattern for free, I should say. And then kind of thought about it for a week because I really don't need another blanket. But my heart was just craving to cast on this blanket, and you guys, it is just everything I ever wanted in a knitting project. The voice is going. Sorry about that. So I cast on last night. And this is where we are. You guys, I am incredibly in love with this. So without giving away the pattern, what you do is you basically start with like a chevron snake, which then you at some point you can just put it on a waste yarn so you can lengthen it later. And then you just start attaching more chevrons to it, and it becomes sort of like this patchwork blanket, which, oh my gosh, this is just genius. I just love this so much. Sorry for gushing about this pattern, but this is just everything I needed. Like I said, the pattern is by Skaenanigans. You can do fingering weight or DK, but I have a lot of fingering weight left over, so that just made sense for me. So I cast on, I'm using smaller needles than recommended. I'm using 2.25 millimeter US size 1 sock needles, just because that's the gauge I like my blankets to be knit at, and it is beginning to rain. I made a couple of modifications because my belief is that if you're knitting a large project, and this is a large thing, you should do it in a way that is easy and simple and comfortable. Because if you don't like that increase the first 10 minutes, you're not gonna like knitting it for the next year. So what I did to make it as simple as possible is I changed the increases without giving away anything too much. And the increasing is done using a certain like make one left and make one right technique. What I'm doing is I'm doing knit front backs. If you're doing it right, it gives the same effect. You still have this beautiful line in the middle, and it's just easier for me to knit. I also thought I was super smart and played around with the edging stitches. That didn't work out. Spoiler alert. And then I started joining you join, like you knit one strip, and then this is the back. You knit a join, a second strip while you're knitting, and you can see here that the joining method has changed. So the very beginning is the way that you're supposed to do it, which involves a knit 3 together, but that again, it wasn't really flowing, and I want my knitting to be just flowing easily. So I changed that slightly. I think it's too complicated to explain here, but you can see I've done it in a way that where you get this sort of like selvage edge, and it's a bit of a welt in the knitting. We can't really tell, but it just gives extra stability, which I think is a good thing for a blanket. And so I changed that as well. And if you want me to go more into detail of how I'm doing that, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know. But yeah, so I modified it a little bit. And like I said, I just started this last night, and this is so fast. I just love it. I love it so much. I love blankets. I am knitting on my second mitered square blanket right now. I have been for a year. My first one is finished. I'm working on my second crochet blanket and finished one 2 years ago, I think. But knitting is my first love, so crocheting is just never going to be the same for me. But knitting the mitered squares, I think, is very fiddly because you have to constantly join, and it's very slow. I think it is slow. With this, it is a similar technique, but because you join as you go, rather than knit one square and knit another square and knit another square, this is basically the same thing, but for me, this just flows more. And oh my gosh, I can't keep saying how much I love it because I'm just repeating myself, but I'm enamored with this project. I also like that whereas in the crochet blankets, the single colors kind of get lost. This, similar to the mitered squares, you get patches of colors, so you can really show off those yarns. But you don't have to use always 5 grams or 10 grams. You can just knit those patches as long or as short as you like. So I did, 2 longer triangles there, then I'm doing a shorter one here. I did a very long one here. I just started this purple stripe, not sure how long I'm going to do that, but you can basically do whatever and use up as much or as little yarn as you want, which I think is really handy. So I've been working on nothing but this ever since we got back home last night. And yeah, I hope I can continue the way I have because I've made so much progress. I feel like this is a blanket that I could actually finish within a reasonable amount of time. And also this is making me want to buy all the mini skeins because I have a couple, but I'm kind of running low and I really want some beautiful indie dyed minis to go on this blanket. So as if I needed more incentive to buy yarn. But anyways, this is where my heart has been ever since casting this on. Love it so much. Northeasterly blanket by Skein Enigans, and I can't wait to finish this podcast so I can knit some more. It's been a long time since I've been so in love with a project immediately. And I think this is the Garter Stitch project that I was craving for when I mentioned doing a hand-spun knit-along last week. Thank you to everyone, by the way, who gave positive feedback and said they would like a hand-spun knit-along. I decided to push it into next year because otherwise we would have to start next week, which is the 15th, and that is just too intense for me right now. So we will do that next year. But I haven't forgotten about you. Right now, this is filling the void of Garter Stitch, which I was thinking about doing with handspun. So that's where we are on that, and I'm hoping that next week I'll have a ton more of this to show you guys. So back into the project bag it goes, and that is it in terms of the whips that I'm showing you this week. So let me have some coffee and then I will bring out the haul, which is huge. Actually, let me pause and get all of my haul and then I will show it to you. Alright, I'm essentially recording in the dark right now, but my camera seems to be coping, so well done Samsung. I'm sorry, I'm not sponsored by my phone, I just love it. I have a ton of stuff that arrived and was bought, and I have no yarn chain, so we'll just get through that. And if you don't want to watch or don't like to watch yarn haul videos, even though I don't like the word haul, you don't have to watch it, that's fine. So first something arrived that I ordered a while ago, and if you've been watching for a while, you know I have this huge soft spot for a company or a lovely lady called Ali of Laughing Yaffle. She's a UK-based dyer. She does very, very rare updates because I think she has quite a busy life. This is not her full-time thing, but every time she does an update, which is every couple of months, I have to jump on it because she has the most amazing yarn, and like I said, it only happens every couple of months. Even though Ali and I, we are planning something fun, so I'm very excited about that. Anyways, she came out with a couple of colorways over Black Friday. Put this one in my cart, and then tried to convince myself not to get it, only to realize it was still in my cart and no one had rescued this beautiful skein of self-strapping yarn a couple of days later. So then I had to rescue the yarn. This is a beautiful self-strapping colorway. Not sure if you can tell, but there are a couple of solid stripes and then there's a speckled stripe, which I think is amazing. This is on her sock base, 75-25 merino nylon, and it's called Spice Jar, which I think is amazing. So can't wait to knit this up. You know my love of self-strapping yarn. I have way too little self-strapping yarn in my life. Said no one ever, but here we go. So that's one thing that arrived. Next up, you know me, right? You know that this year my huge love has been for woolly yarns to knit color work, and like that has been my quest for this year. I've knit more than, I don't know, between 12 and 15 sweaters so far. I need to count. And that has meant that a whole new buying spree has started, because obviously I need to try all the yarn that is out there for sweaters, like all the color work yarn, all the woolly yarn, all the rustic yarn, whatever you want to call it. I need to try it all. And what better way is than to buy it all in a sweaters quantity so you can knit sweaters? Yes, it means kilos upon kilos of yarn, but who cares? So one yarn brand that I have been wanting to try is yarn by Filcolana. Filcolana is a Danish brand, but they source yarn from all over the place. So I think this is one of their most known brands. This is their New Zealand lammeuld, which means lamb's wool. And it is just one of those kind of rustic colorwork yarns. It's a non-superwash 100% wool yarn. It's about a lace weight. It is 600 meters per 100 grams. So of course I needed to try it. And this stuff is very affordable, as a lot of those yarns that I like at the moment are. So I got 2 skeins, which is 1200 meters of yarn. And the colorway is 213. And because, you know, I can't test it just with one sweater, I had to get a second sweater's quantity, because obviously one just wasn't enough. This is the same yarn, it just comes in ball form for 50 grams and then skein form for 100 grams. And I really wanted this color. I got 3 skeins of the light mint and then one of this beautiful teal to go with it. Like I said, yarn is exactly the same yarn, same base, same name. This is colorway 257 and this is colorway number 207. So I think, again, this will make a beautiful colorwork sweater. Yeah, it had to come live with me. Also, I'm rushing now because it is literally getting dark and I just want to get this podcast episode out, and I have a hair in my mouth. Next up with my order, because yarn doesn't like to travel alone, is another couple of balls of yarn that jumped into my cart because I needed them in my life. This is yarn by Isaga, which is a brand that I love but haven't knit with yet. I've touched their yarn so many times. I feel like this may be a new favorite yarn of mine, but I haven't even tried it. So I should slow down, but I kind of want to get this yarn in all colors. This is Isaga, or Isaya, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, 2 Highland wool. In the colorway Rhubarb. Again, this is a very light fingering to lace weight yarn. This is 50 grams, which equals 275 meters. This yarn this colorway is just beautiful. This is again one of those rustic yarns. It's a 2-ply as far as I can tell. It's got a bit of a halo going on. I think Isaga, they do a lot of alpaca, which I'm not very keen on, but this is just 100% Peruvian Highland wool. And I got this beigey gray color to go with it for, again, another color work sweater. I want to knit a second branches and buds, so I think this may become that. Although those colors aren't too different from the ones that I've already knitted, but who cares? Obviously, I like these colors. You can tell. So that was supposed to be my last acquisition for this week. And then, and I'm just going to go into life in general kind of right now as well. Yesterday, Kai and I, we were in Mainz. Why were we in Mainz, which is a city close to Frankfurt, in case you don't know? After a busy week and a ton of travel, I had my company Christmas party in Wiesbaden, which is again a city close to there. So we drove up there and decided to make use of the fact that we were already there and spent the Saturday in Mainz. And there is a yarn store. Actually, I visited that yarn store last time I was in Mainz, which was about 3 years ago. And the funny thing was, we arrived and I found the yarn store without even using Google Maps or anything, because I am a crazy yarn lady. I never forget the yarn. And so they have this really, really cool yarn store, I think. It's called Wollzeit. And they have a lot of different yarns, from very usual commercial German sock yarns to Wollmeise and Malabrigo. And like, they have a really good selection, I think. I was really impressed with the store the first time I was there, and I wasn't disappointed this time. I found a lot of stuff that I hadn't seen before. But first of all, Kai added to his stash, because yes, he has his own stash, with this Schoppel Zauberball. I've been wanting to knit him a pair of socks out of a Zauberball for ages. But a lot of this is by Schoppel. I'm sure you've heard of this before. A lot of them, they come unplied, which is insane, because that's never going to hold up for socks. So I've always told him he needs to find a color that he liked in the plied version, which is the crazy Zauberball. And he picked this. This is colorway Domino. It's a wool and nylon blend, and I'm going to knit him a super Barber Poly pair of socks, and I know he's very excited about that. I think he's kind of hoping to get these for Christmas, but I'm not making any gift knitting plans right now. I ordered him a Christmas gift last night, because I have enough going on, and if I manage to do gift knitting, that's great. And if not, I'm not putting that pressure on myself right now, and I'm actually really proud of myself for not letting myself get pressured. So that's the first thing we got, and then who is Julia if she doesn't walk out with a sweater's quantity of yarn, right? So I found this yarn, which I had never seen before. This is also by Schoppel. I should show you their logo. And Schoppel is a yarn brand that I always underestimate. I don't know why. They have really cool yarns, and their yarns were actually ones of the very first yarns that I used when I got into proper knitting with a capital K as a knitter. And yeah, I don't know why. I think it's just because this yarn doesn't tend to be in the yarn stores that I visit, and I don't really think about Schoppel when I order yarn. But this is Schoppel Wool Finest, made in Germany. As with all of the tags, it says knitting can be addictive, which I think is so fun. This is 100% Merino Extra Fine from Patagonia. It's a fingering weight yarn, and this is colorway 2345, which is called Sand am Meer, or Sand am Meer. I'm pronouncing German with an English accent, which means sand on the beach. No, it doesn't. Sand at sea. That's what it means, because apparently I don't speak German or English. And I was just going to get a sweater quantity of this gray, because I thought it was really beautiful, like slightly tonal beigey gray. But then, thank goodness, Kai was there and convinced me to go crazy. So I got this skein, which now I love this color combination. Like, it would have been so sad if I hadn't gotten this skein. Like, this just makes this combination. I think I love it. So I'm going to do some kind of color work with this. This is the same yarn in the colorway. Let's see, I have no idea. Rechtes Licht, colorway number 2279. Aren't these colors amazing? I mean, these would be a beautiful shawl like a Melanie Berg shawl or something as well, but they kind of want to be a sweater because yes, I need another 100 sweaters, and that's pretty much the amount of yarn I have. Yeah, I just had a really good time and very happy with my yarny purchases. And there was someone who once said that travel yarn or souvenir yarn from traveling doesn't count as stash. So I think I'm good. That is it in terms of the knitting and yarny content. So if you're only here for that, thank you, and I will see you next week. If you haven't had enough of my ramblings and you desperately need some more unnecessary info about what I do on a daily basis, feel free to stick around. Before I do that though, thank you to everyone who commented on my sweater video, which I released as a bonus episode last week. That was really fun to film, and I was so happy to see that you guys seem to really enjoy it. So thank you to everyone who has left comments on that and appreciated it. I'm happy to do a couple more like that in the future on sweaters, on socks, on garments, whatever. But I was really happy to see that you guys liked it as much as I enjoyed filming it. I am thinking about maybe doing a Q&A or question and answer video at some point before Christmas as well. I'm enjoying doing a little bit of extra content. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know and I will open a thread for that, and you can just pop in all of your questions and we will do a quick sort of like rapid fire question game or something. I don't know. I'm not a YouTuber. I don't know these things. Anyways, thank you for that. And yeah, now to enter the crazy and unstructured, possibly blather segment of this podcast. Like I said, I've been very busy. Last Sunday, so a week ago, I drove up to my parents' house because I had an appointment there on Monday morning to take care of some business stuff. So that meant that I spent Sunday night there with my family, which was really fun. We started practicing the dance for my wedding. Obviously, my family isn't dancing. I'm supposed to dance with Kai, but anyways, we had a lot of fun. Impromptu dance session with my family. And then on Monday, I worked from my parents' place and then drove down back to Munich in the night, which was annoying because both the two-hour trip up there and the 2 hour trip back, it was just raining cats and dogs. It was terrible. But anyways, I made it back to Munich, spent 3 days here, and then on Friday morning, we got up quite early to drive, like I said, to Wiesbaden. Had a busy day. The Christmas party was quite fun. And then yesterday went yarn shopping in Mainz. We visited the Christmas markets in Mainz, which I really like. Mainz was actually a city that I once considered moving to because I had the opportunity to study there, but that didn't happen. But I still really like the place. It's a really beautiful city. They had really nice Christmas markets. Also, although the wind was blowing so badly that it wasn't super festive. It was really cold. I also had the spiciest sausage ever. It was hilarious. And then, like I said, last night we got back to Munich. It was about a 4 hour drive, 3.5 maybe. And now I'm just so glad to be home. Had a quiet night in, and we're having a quiet Sunday. As I'm talking, I'm looking outside and it is grey. It has just started raining. It's been super stormy. So I think we're just going to hang out inside, light our second Advent candle, which we haven't done yet. Maybe listen to some Christmas music if I can force Kai to do so. Last week we did that and he fell asleep. It was hilarious. I'm planning to do all the knitting. In fact, I have so much knitting to do. I just don't know where the time for it is. But I'm hoping that the next 2 weeks will calm down a little bit. I honestly don't see that happening, but I'm trying to force myself to do some self-care as well and just take it day by day. Working on it, not succeeding so far, but the intentions are there, and I'm so looking forward to Christmas and everything that comes with it. I'm looking forward to our crazy family trip that we take every year. I'm also really looking forward to the week after, where we're just going to hang out near the Alps in the little apartment that I've talked about a million times. And I'm just going to do all the knitting and all the sleeping and nothing else, and it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. So that is sort of the thing that I'm holding on to right now, besides my knitting, which is giving me so much joy. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this episode wasn't too all over the place right now. I don't really know. It's going to be interesting to edit. But anyways, I will see you again next week. Thank you so much for participating in the calls, joining in, chatting with me here in the comments on YouTube, on Instagram, on Ravelry. I really enjoy podcasting. It gives me so much joy every week. So thank you for that, and happy knitting, and I will see you next week. Bye!